Assalamu alaikum, peace. I am Coach Nazir, one of the founders of Outstanding Personal Relationships and one of the authors of the book, Let's Talk Polygamy Uncensored. If you don't have a copy, probably should have it. I want to just address you briefly today as I go ahead and do not disturb that. Today, I'm going to be very short, but I wanted to more address the community when it comes to polygyny in particular, because there are so many questions, so many myths, so many things and weird ideas that people have. All right. And we're going to go into more depth. Now, of course, we're not going to go and just read the book online, although the audio book is in production right now. But before we begin our class, because for everybody who has purchased the book through our website, they actually have access to our OPR campus. So if you have already purchased it, that was a surprise bonus. You could actually join the campus, go ahead and log in and everything, and then it'll be a Zoom setup, so you'll be able to speak with us, ask any questions, get some clarity, or whatever it may be when it comes to polygyny in particular, or any of our sections of the book. You know, the book is over 300 pages, and that's half what it could have been had we not been forced to keep different parts out, shave some things down, and so on. So we didn't want to send out some 1,000-page novel. That wouldn't be nice. So with that being said, if you have some questions, comments, concerns, thoughts right now, I'm definitely open to answering them. Now, one of the things I'm going to address that we get asked a lot, just to kind of get that out the way, in case you want to ask that question, that would be, do you guys have separate homes, or do you all live together on one roof? We have separate homes. We have separate homes. That may work for some people, depending on your philosophy and your core values. I'm a strong believer that a queen is going to need and like her own stuff, whether that's the way the kitchen is or the design is set up and all of that. Plus, when I started my polygynous journey, if you will, I was already married for 15 years. I have 6 children. So unless it's an extremely large roof and with different wings of the home, then it's best to be within close vicinity if you're in the same city and whatnot, but having separate homes. So that's out of the way. You do not need to ask that question. But before officially getting started, I guess I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. I need to make sure going through the proper procedures and protocols that we use. So here we go. All right, prayerfully you can hear me and everything as well. So one of the things that we're going to discuss, we're going to discuss a number of different questions put in by our readers. But one of the things that is always intriguing to me when it comes to polygyny is the question of legality. All right, depending on where you are in the world, people ask us, where are you from? You know, I know I'm technically racially ambiguous, if you will. When I go to Egypt, they think I'm Egyptian. Turkey, they think I'm Turkish. If I'm on the south side of the Boricua side of a certain city, they think I'm Puerto Rican. All right, so my mother's Boricua, she's Puerto Rican, and my father's Black American. All right, amongst a host of other things, but that's the 2 primary things. So I'm currently living in the West, in the Midwest of the United States of America. And with that being said, we get the questions of legality. So I would just kind of reverse that and ask you the question, have you ever seen any television shows dealing with polygyny, all right, or polygamy? Just to let you know the difference. Polygamy is the general term which polygyny falls under. So polygamy means a spouse who's married to multiple spouses. So either a spouse who has multiple husbands or multiple wives. So specifically, when we use the term polygyny, we're talking about one form of polygamy. That is the form where a man is married to multiple wives. That's traditionally how it's been practiced throughout history. So when people say polygamy, they automatically assume a man with multiple wives, because polyandry, which is the term for wives with multiple husbands, was rarely ever practiced, or especially in a society that thrived. So, legality. Many countries have a legal system with polygyny. For example, in Malaysia, beautiful Malaysia, love Malaysia. It is humid as it is, and so on, but it's a very beautiful country, very beautiful people. They have an entire system, different parts of, let's say, Nigeria, different parts of Africa. So polygyny is not something that's new. Now, I would ask you though, in the West, have you ever seen anything on TV, like TLC, perhaps, like, I don't know, stuff, what channels stuff might be on? It might be on some different channels, but I've come across titles of shows like Big Love, and that's a man that has multiple wives, or One Man, Three Wives, I think another show was called, or Seeking Sister Wife. All right. So there are many polygyny or polygamy-based television shows that actually have it on. Now, my question is, do you think that they're riding up to these people's homes in black vans, jumping out, serving them with legal papers and everything else, talking about how this is what you know, this is illegal and against the law and they doing such and such? All right, that, first of all, should kind of be like a hint. Now, just to be clear, polygyny and polygamy across the board is not legalized in the U.S. It's not legalized. That simply means there are nothing that you can look up different statutes and codes and whatnot in the legal system and look for a law on polygamy and polygyny. Now, it was brought before Congress before, but things didn't necessarily move forward. The book Public Vows does a great job on that, with Dr. Nancy Cott, Harvard professor and author, really breaks it down and reasons why, but we're not going to go into that here. But the government traditionally is not into the business of regulating your intimate affairs. What is illegal, though, is what's called bigamy. That is when you decide to have a third party as a part of your marriage. So having multiple marriage certificates or licenses at the same time or simultaneously. So you have one, let's say 2 in whatever state, let's say 2 in California, that's illegal if it's at the same time. All right, you have to, if you're going that route, then 1 is considered legal, anything else is considered illegal, and bigamy, which is against the law and we do not encourage. Otherwise, in general, they don't care. They consider, for example, adultery is also against the law. When's the last time you know somebody get charged with adultery and served some time and got on probation for adultery? They don't. Now, under Islamic law, that's a totally different thing. If there was an Islamic government that actually ruled by the Sharia, and there isn't, unfortunately, but in some countries they even implement this hudud or this ruling, because adultery is considered similar to the people of the book. It's a capital crime with capital punishment. But so the question of legality and lawful is 2 totally different things. So, for example, when we talk about, God created man and all men are created equal and so on, we're talking about in general law. That's something that is lawful. Marriage in and of itself is lawful before the creation of any type of government agency that wants to regulate it or get involved as an extra party. Furthermore, if you look back even just further in the country that I'm in right now, a little over 100 years ago, these things, these licenses and certificates and so on, didn't necessarily exist until the creation of the Federal Reserve Bank, which is an entirely different discussion. I get into it a little bit in the book. But again, if you have any questions regarding polygyny, feel free, put something across, or something that I said. Now, legal versus lawful. I'm a strong believer that lawful are rights given to you by your creator. Nobody can take those rights from you, no matter what. As an example, the alphabet community that has taken over the rainbow have some things that are now legalized. Well, depending on the scripture that you follow, and I think that's pretty much any revealed scripture before at any time, considers that to be forbidden, these different acts to be forbidden, acts with which parties of families cannot procreate. Now, it's funny. I don't use the arguments, religious arguments, when it comes to different morality claims, when it comes to marriage and relationships and all that kind of stuff. I stopped doing that even before I became a Muslim. I was like, we could just look at the science of it if you want to look at it in general, whether or not something is beneficial or a problem for humanity. And all you have to do is go to the extreme. Well, if everyone did this, then what would happen? The fact of the matter is, if everyone did something that the rainbow community and the alphabet community did, then that'd be the end of the human race. So I had determined myself, without any type of other spiritual, religious type background, that it's probably not good for the human race. Therefore, it should probably be something that's bad or not necessarily widespread or practice. But just because the government may enact that and say, hey, now this is legal, these 2 people can go ahead and do these certain things, even though they can't naturally procreate, does that mean now that it's lawful in my spiritual walk or my faith or my background or my book or anything like that. Not at all. Again, difference between lawful and legal. We all, no matter who you are, whatever your belief is or what is not, I understand and believe 100% to be true that we are currently having a physical experience as spiritual beings. So even at death, that is not the end. That's just a beginning of a different life. So another thing I'm going to address, especially when it comes to this legal part also, some people say, well, if somebody gets sick or there's something happens, they usually ask, well, who's the wife or only family can come in. I will let you know in all of my years of living that no one has ever asked me to produce a marriage certificate or license or anything like that at the birth of any of my children that were in hospitals. Nobody was like, are you the husband? Are you the father? I'm like, I'm the husband. No one was like, can you prove that and bring that certificate in? So a lot of these things are unwarranted. And to think that a government necessarily has your back with something because you have a certificate or a license, that's still to be seen. I mean, whether you're watching Divorce Inc. or something else, another question. Now, don't misconstrue that for me thinking that, or me advocating that there shouldn't be any protections and things in place, especially with polygyny. Unfortunately, since the lack of education and the lack of places and people willing to educate us on this topic, many people do it wrong. They have no idea. They kind of winging it. And many women in the process end up getting abused. And many men have no idea what they're doing with it, intentionally or unintentionally, end up being oppressive. So having contracts, having different agreements, having different structures and things in place, again, talk about a little bit more in the book, whether that's dealing with trusts, whether that is dealing with, irrevocable trust in particular, or specific ways of banking, your asset protection. All of these things are important. And that's what you're supposed to be doing as a leader. Anyway, let me see. So with that being said, I'm going to get ready. We're going to be going live in our campus in a few moments as my wives are also on their way. Questions, comments, concerns, chime in, put it below. If you have already purchased the book from us, join us on campus. Again, it's one of the special bonuses that we have. Or go to letstalkpolygamy.com, grab yourself a copy, get access so you can meet with us every week to discuss it in much more detail. With that being said, appreciate you being here. Assalamu alaikum. Peace. I'm Coach Nazir.